Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Joey Gallardo Jr. joining us here live on the podcast and Zoomcast. Great to see him here, the owner of JSG Biocleanse Services from Austin, Texas. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good to meet you and good to finally see you in person.
Ditto. I love it. Thank you so much. Great to see you. We've been talking for quite a few weeks, so I got to know you on a personal level, but it's always good to put the face together. And for those new-time listeners and viewers, tell us a little bit about what you do, Joey.
Well, I am a mold remediator contractor. I help out people that get into situations on their properties that gets damaged through a water loss or some kind of liquid damage that they didn't realize has spun out of control and has grown out fungus in their house.
Yep. And you have a serious and extensive background. Since it is our first Zoomcast in a sense, please share your background.
I am a biologist and chemist by first trade. And then I went to the Army and I did chemical, nuclear, biological warfare. Once I got done with that level of experience, I got into some personal training. I owned my exercise studios, wrote a book, had TV shows. And then I went into environmental inspection on gas pipelines. That brought me here to Austin, Texas, and I started doing this business back in 2015. So I worked my way from the bottom up, and throughout my course of time in this industry, I've gotten to the point where I've gotten all the licenses and certifications and education to run my own business and be my own mold contractor.
Beautiful. Well, we're excited to have you here. And tell us the website, and want to make sure everyone can contact you correctly.
Yes, the phone number is 512-661-4754. Email jsgbiocleanse@gmail.com. And last but not least, you can always look it up on the websites, Facebook as well. The website, of course, the 3Ws, jsgbiocleanseservices.com.
Awesome. So what did you have in mind for today's show? What did you want to address for our audience today?
Well, I was going to contemplate, one of the things I've been talking to you about since the time you and I started was about being a mold, getting a mold assessor consultant available to you. And I'm 2 weeks away from getting my course done. I've been eligible, and don't ask me why. Procrastination, the enemy of all evil, right? But I'm finally going to get my consultation license next 2 weeks.
Yay!
And it's very important because in this state, and I think in Louisiana, Florida, and maybe I think New York. Don't quote me on New York, but you got to have a remediator licensed contractor to do work. Now, some states quote under the EPA guidelines of over 10 square feet contiguous areas affected that you need a contractor, a licensed contractor. But the law in Texas, because I can quote that better than anything, the law in Texas suggests that you cannot be the contractor and the consultant.
Okay.
It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That way, and in my business personally, I would rather have the third party consultant be on job because it tells homeowner, this is why I had to take out so many feet of drywall. This is why I had to take out so much insulation. This is why I had to take out the countertops. I don't want to make those assessments on myself. A consultant comes in, which is a mold assessor consultant. A consultant comes in and they actually take laboratory samples of air, or they swab test the area affected. They take it to a lab. They bring back results. Now, between the consultant and the homeowner, there's a decision of what needs to happen. And then a guy like me can bid on the job and say, well, I can do it for so much. And then thus, between the contractor and the consultant, of course, getting the blessing of the homeowner, we then attack the project together.
Okay.
So I just really wanted to emphasize, why people need to look upon getting a consultant. It does cost in this state. The average going rate is usually about $400 to $500 for an inspection. And then, of course, the labs cost about $300. They bring.
Oh, you muted your microphone by accident. Looks like you muted yourself. Can you double check that? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
There you go. That's better. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. So a cassette comes in with an air disc and they take a sample of the environment, or they go to an area where it's like, let's say I'm doing a job right now, and unfortunately the homeowner just put back a whole renovation of tile So he's got brand new tile that he can't even buy anymore. But the guy did not clean the mold before he put the tile back.
Oh, double whammy. Oh my goodness.
That's very aggravating and frustrating for the homeowner. And I told him, I was like, the best we could do is we take out little sections at a time from the back side of the wall, and then we can bore and take samples of that inside there to find out if we really need to take out the tile or not. Because, I mean, it's very aggravating for the homeowner. But at the same time, I tell them all the time, you're not going to want to hear what I got to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you how to get out of it. I'm going to give you options, and then it'll be up to you. It'll be your choice on what decision you want to take. I always give the client, the first intention is, what are your goals and what are your intentions with this? Is it that you're getting sick? Do you have family members? Which, if you recall, we talked about how to contain stuff on the very first podcast. You know, if you do find that you have what is a colony and it looks like black pepper on a wall coming out, right? You put 6 mil plastic over that and you seal it up, and then you bring in a consultant, because it's kind of that scenario where everyone and their mother can say, well, that looks like mold, but until you get a laboratory report, it's difficult to be anyone with a smoking gun saying, aha, this is what we should do.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key elements I wanted to just emphasize today is, and once again, and I got buddies throughout my national team that I did prior to my previous life. I was a national project manager, traveling, doing hurricanes, tornadoes, big life events such as that, big catastrophes. And I got a bunch of guys throughout the nation. And you know, we're dealing with a house here in Austin right now where the guy just put the same thing. He just put down brand new hardwood floors, and they're bubbling up with mold. And because he had a water leak that went through the slab, they didn't dry it out on time, and it's called hydrostatic pressure. The vapor barrier is pushing through and growing mold from the cement. And all it would have done to simplify that is, one, they cut the lines and rerouted the plumbing over the cement, so that took the issue of the water continuously pouring out. But they didn't dry out the cement, and they should have taken the time and the duration to dry out the cement properly. And all that would have taken is just someone going over there with a moisture meter and telling them, okay, now you can put the wood down. Once again, we're cutting brand new wood floors for him, and we got to bore into the cement and try to dry that out. And this is why I'm bringing up this issue, this story, because he's relying on us to tell him what's going on. But if we had the third party involved, which I told him, why didn't you bring out an inspector? Why didn't you bring out a consultant? Because then you're saying, Joey said, no, I didn't say, your consultant told you. This is a course of action. So that's what I really wanted to really nail on the head today is why you should really consider getting a consultant. Why is it important to distinguish the level of education between the consultant and the contractor? And then last but not least, please, all you homeowners, do not fear that these people are, we put on our shoes just like everyone else does. You have the power. It is your house. You can get secondary consultations. There's a point where you can say, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I kind of joked with you last time, Jill, when we were talking about cancer, which is not a funny subject. But if I was to look at my finger and be like, oh, my goodness, I think I have cancer right there. And you're like, you know what, Joey? Go to your doctor. I go to the doctor. And then he says, well, Joey, go to the oncologist. And the first oncology guy's like, hey, we got to take your shoulder out. From your shoulder down, we got to cut it. You're like, whoa, can I get a second opinion? You probably would, right?
Uh-huh.
The same thing should happen to your house. You should be able to be strong enough to say, listen, I appreciate all the information. And then, so you don't have a conflict of interest, you just go get a second opinion from another consultant if you don't feel confident. Because just like these two homeowners I'm dealing with, brand new wood floors, and we got to gut them. Brand new tile in the shower, and we got to gut it. And it wasn't. And I tell them, with a concerned heart, sir, I didn't put it there. I really wish you would have got a consultant. That way, you could have got a laboratory report based on what we're seeing. I'm telling you what I see. I would like you to get a consultant, but then comes the issue again. well, Joey, I don't have the kind of money to pay for that. It's like, oh, well, all right, I'm going to tell you what we have to do. And then when I guess when you're ready, I think you'll tell me we'll go to break. And I'm just going to quote some things that I have from the what is called the
I
Texas.
know we're skipping the break, so don't worry. Go ahead, because I was late.
Oh, okay. What is called the TDLR, and it's tdlr.texas.gov. For those of you that are in Texas, obviously I know this show is being broadcast upstate New York and so forth, but it could give you some guidelines as well as what you may need, because the EPA and the information that is pertinent to people asking, Q&A questions like, what do I do if I have indoor mold? Why do I need to do this? There's a pertinent information here that is called a mold information sheet, and it's a PDF. You can download it. We normally give it to anyone that we're going on site to explain to them, what is important, what do you need to know, why do you need to know this, who do you contact if you're upset with the contractor or the consultant. We have to follow rules just like everyone else. We are not obligated to just sit there and tell you, well, this is what you should do. Those are our opinions based upon the project and the protocols that are written by the mold assessor consultants. That is so important. But on this page as well, you can also go to the CDC, and they'll give you information about mold as well. I've been really realizing a lot of people have been going to a Facebook page that people are looking out information for mold symptoms. But if you don't share the cause, it's very important that you get to the source. If not, you're going to continuously fight this battle. I think a lot of people are a little bit confused on what mold can do to everyone. Number one, everyone is different, Jill. Nobody has the same symptoms. Your child could be sneezing every day with asthma, bronchitis, and you need to go to the doctor to get antibiotics. And then the next child's like, oh, you're being silly. I don't feel anything. Everyone's immune system's different. So there's no scientific evidence on what it does to people, but you can go to the CDC website, and once again, they can give you some information. I usually tell people, once again, you got to get the source out. So get yourself what is called a HEPA air filtration device. I think you remember we talked about this the first time we were talking. You can rent these guys at Home Depot, so there's not something that you have to be special or certified. You can rent these things and put them in the rooms. And what they are is they usually rent out the 500, and which is basically 500 cubic square feet of air it clears. That's what that 500 means. They have them on different styles and so forth, but I think it's like $75 a day. You can also rent out a dehumidifier. A dehumidifier is real important because like you, like me, we need water. And if you can choke out the humidity, you can stop the growth because it is a biological species. And then last but not least, get yourself a Mac. This goes right back to what I was telling you. It's really, in Texas, it's regulated. And what they want you to do, if you do get a protocol, because the Mac should be the gentleman, or I shouldn't be sexist. The Mac should be the person that dictates to the project exactly what needs to get done to pass. And when you do pass that, you should be looking for a certificate. These certificates are what's going to let you sell your home, or because I get a lot of people that call me for situations where they're trying, either it's the home buyer or the home seller, and they're trying to find, where do I get the certificate of mold damage remediation? In Texas, it's pertinent when you're trying to sell a home. If you are indicated that you have a mold issue, the realtors tend to, well, even buyers, I've seen people walk away from a water heater closet that went out of control, and the homeowner lost the sale just because $400 worth of remediation, and they couldn't sell a $500,000 home. It's that important here in Texas. I'm not sure the laws in other states, but it's important here.
Interesting. And just remind everyone how we can contact you before we continue.
Yes. The name of my business is JSG Biocleanse Services. The website, www.jsgbiocleanseservices.com. My phone number, 512-661-4754. And of course, the Gmail account is JSG Biocleanse at gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, let's continue the conversation here. By the way, you have knowledge, just a little bit of background. You worked after Hurricane Katrina, right? Your experience is, I mean, you're worldwide as well. I know you're based out of Texas, but you also work in other states too.
Yes. The crazy aspect of my life is I got brought on by a headhunter to go help out people in Houston and then Louisiana. And the company was called Blue Sky. They're out of Colorado. And it was fortunate and blessed that they gave me the opportunity to be a national project manager. So the weirdest scenario I was in, I could tell you multiple ones. I've told you in the stories before. I was in Hurricane in Puerto Rico, Maria, and to see the devastation of the island was something different, because what you see on TV is not what's happening on the ground. And then last but not least, one of the other ones that was kind of way out there and stuck in my memory was the riots that happened up in Minneapolis. There were so many people that read and saw things on TV, and I was there because people were throwing Molotov cocktail bombs into properties that were, a major shopping center. And the project I was on, it was night and day. I mean, I was watching on TV what I saw, but seeing how it affects people, people losing their property, their businesses, it's pretty devastating.
Wow, my goodness. And advice to people out there, clearly mold is a huge issue, right? Some people don't take it so seriously, right? Even in our home, right? Like you mentioned before, the damage it can do, and even the health concerns, what it could do to someone.
Well, here's some. I'm just going to list off some issues, because here's the thing: a lot of tenants feel like they're not empowered. Here's some simple tips that you can do. Once again, exhaust all the fans and open windows to get that showering. A lot of people get a lot of mold in their showers, and they don't have the proper exhaust and get the humidity out. Squeegee and get all the wet surfaces out and done once you step out of the shower. Condensation always happens around windows. Take the time to frequently wipe those off. If not, and I know, these are things that are like, well, who's got the time? But if you're already noticing you got these issues, it just little simple things that you could do as a homeowner or as a renter, to prevent situation getting from worse severe situations where anything that is certain paints, sometimes you can't do anything about that, right?
Yeah.
You just bought the house and it's got a latex paint that you can't take care of. You got to watch out for those. Watch out for carpets in the bathroom. That's the one spot that usually gets wet, and it's right always at the corner of the shower door that opens and it drops right there. You can look out for areas like that. Make sure you got good air movement in your house. Always have air circulating.
What about, okay, I'm a queen of, maybe you're going to say this is wrong or not, but Clorox and scrubbing bubbles, does that kill mold too, or no?
No. It's a great disinfectant, but you got to find something that has, and I think I mentioned this to you last time, biocides. There are things that I'm in my truck. I'm taking a break right now. I'm in my truck. But the good thing is, if you give me a second, I'm going to grab something.
Awesome. Go ahead. There it is.
This is a product. This is a product that kills. It has to have a biocide in it. So it's a fungal side and a biocide. This is a concentrated form of Thermox. Remember I told you?
Uh-huh.
So this is the go-to to kill the cell cycle of a fungus.
Well, but do you put that down as a preventative measure too? So, something like that in your shower so it doesn't grow, or that's no?
Yes, that's something that you can do, as well as, once again, now this is heavy duty stuff.
It's probably got to be diluted with.
This is dilute 4 ounces to a gallon of water. Now, you don't want to use this with there's any animals or anybody that can lick a wet surface, because cats and dogs always. So once again, this is the killer of all killers for fungus, bacteria, viruses. When you dilute it properly, 4 ounces to a gallon of water. This is my to-go-to when I got serious problems. Like right now, I just opened up a house and there's a dead possum in the wall. So we got to clear that out. But this guy, I use this guy in my house. I
Okay.
use this guy with my puppies.
I had to write that down.
Yeah, once again, this is a straight. They usually cost about $40 a gallon, and you can use this, put it in a spray bottle, and wipe off any kind of materials, your showers, your anything that you're of concern with.
Wow.
This is one of the
Bioask.
to go to. There was another one that I told you, and I don't have that one on me right now, but there's another one that is called Decon 30, and that's from a company called Benefact.
Okay.
And once again, I used to use Benefact a lot, as well as this one, and the Decon 30 is really my favorite, but that Thermox is also the same as that other chemical, and those two are concentrated thyme oil. The one that I showed you that was called Metaclean,
Mm-hmm.
that is straight chemical. You want to be careful how you use that one.
Okay. Thanks for the advice. And we still got 3 minutes left. What else did you want to share today, Joey, about you, your services, and how you're helping people?
Well, I think the key element I like to like these homeowners. I still come from the educational side where I feel if I educate you why we're doing things, then you have a better response to what the end product is, because nobody can see through walls. So I think the biggest thing I like to do and explain is the level of education why you should be
Mm-hmm.
doing things. It's real easy for someone to say, "Hey, I'm going to take this wall out. Hey, I just put this tile. I know, but I'm going to take it." Right now I'm doing this in between the job that I'm talking about. I got to go back to his house, and you can just see in his eye the level of anger, frustration. He doesn't even have any tile to replace the ones we got to take. He just barely put it, and you can see that he's frustrated. But at the same time, I keep saying, "Sir, I didn't put it there. I'm trying to help you." And I tell them, and I say this jokingly, "Sir, you can fire me, you can fire the Mac, you can fire everybody. If you wanted to paint this pink, I'll be right back with pink paint. This is your house. My job is to fulfill my obligation legally and explain to you what your options are. That way you make the choice on what you want to do and how you want to live."
Now, also, just to remind everyone, your services currently you're in Texas, so clearly that's the first stop. Now, do you have to be licensed in states to do what you do, or how does that work?
Yes, you do. And like I was saying, there's 4 states that I know for sure: Texas, Louisiana, Florida. I'm licensed in Texas and in Florida. Um, but I think New York is also getting on board where you need to be a licensed certified mold assessor, a consultant, which is the guy that tells you what's wrong, takes a lab sample, and writes a protocol. And then there's a guy like me that does the work for the remediation contracting. They're all situated, and like I was telling you, that website, I think I mentioned it to you earlier. It's for Texas, at least, tdlr.texas.gov. You can go to that website, and there's tons of information to find out the variants on who knows what should happen. There's even a consumer sheet that needs to be given. I always give my consumer handbook to all my clients. That way, they have questions. But on the website itself, it has links to the CDC. It has links to the EPA, and it also gives information on how to get that certificate of mold for damage remediation. But it's also got the consumer sheet, kind of like a Q&A page that the department puts out. And and I'm just thumbing through it. You can also file a complaint. Let's say I'm not doing the right thing. You can get on this website, and there's a link to file a complaint if you didn't put up containment right, or you're cross-contaminating, or you just have a question and say, "Hey, look, I don't even know if this guy's licensed." You can look up on the website and find out if these even people have criminal histories, or there's rulings and pages that'll give you more information on how to deal with things if you're going to try to do it yourself.
Well, thank you so much. Remind us one more time how we can reach you.
Yes, my phone number is 512-661-4754. My website, www.jsgbiocleanseservices.com. And of course, my email, jsgbiocleanse@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joey. Pleasure having you back and seeing you here live and in person. Thank you again for today. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.